Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Wednesday, December 26th, 2018, and we are coming from you live tonight. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever holiday that you do celebrate. Take a look at solar wind speeds at 331.8 kilometers per second with a density of 6.5. Our sun is once again blank. This is now day number 10 in a row without sunspots. 216 days away, and we are 5 days away from the year being over. I have a friend of mine who has made a prediction of 220, and right now he's on a pretty decent track to hit that number, or is he? And I'll explain here just in a minute. 334, so that's 33 billion.4 watts on the TCI. And we look at our KP indices. We are at a 0 with a KP of 1. Would not be surprised. We've been rocking anyway, but 7.0 or higher in the next 24 to 72 hours with the way things have been rolling. Here is our current situation, this Earth-facing coronal hole. Let's take a look at it here. We are expecting possibility of a CIR, which would cause geomagnetic storm conditions possibly to our magnetic field, and that is coming possibly later on the 29th. But what I wanted to point out here on the far eastern limb, and this area not to be concerned with, I'll go ahead and get my arrow, but this is the area that I'm worried about that could possibly be giving us that one last sunspot for 2018. Now, this sunspot is also associated in the equatorial southern part of the equatorial region, so still showing solar cycle 24 sunspots. But this might be the area that we're looking at that possibly might be that spoiler, as we have 5 days left in 2018. But even if we don't get to 220, that's still a heck of a guess, as he made this prediction back when we were sitting at 105 on the spotless days for the year. So either way, to make that prediction that far back and then to be only 1 or 2 off, hats off to you, Rob. The fact that we're sitting at 216 right now, bud. Anyway, moving along, and another thing I wanted to kind of point out tonight when it comes to our space weather tools, I usually don't even bother looking at this this type of stuff here. But the one thing that caught my attention tonight as I was looking for new graphs and motion stuff to look at tonight for our show is we noticed that I remember stepping into this scene looking at these space tools on SDO, Soho, and all these other websites. And I just remember, the thing here in the center is the oculator, which shields the sun, and that way we can see what's going on around here. But the one thing I've noticed is the light coming from the sun that's being obfuscated. So it's not as bright. It's not as, even these minor eruptions from the sun, I mean, these are puny. And I remember when I first started looking at this stuff 3 years ago, obviously not for the same purpose that I'm looking at it now, but nonetheless, I remember these massive filament or eruptions from the sun. But now, that one right there, that's pretty weak. Consider some of the stuff that we've seen. So just more evidence when we look at these space weather tools that our sun is going to sleep. And at an alarming rate. And looking at some of the other graphs today, the sunspot projections, according to some of these sunspot maps for 24, we're not even in the beginning of the minimum yet. And just because our sunspot activity has been on the decline, doesn't necessarily mean that that's where the minimum begins. The minimum is at the very bottom of this, and we're still racing to that. So right now, just very interested in what happens here in the next several years. But 2019 should be an interesting year to watch. No sunspots as of yet, but I do want to point out we are watching a couple of things on the reverse side of our sun. And let's go ahead and zoom this in a little bit. I know I've been watching a couple different regions here for the past couple broadcasts. And let's see if I can point these out to you guys as they stroll on by. Here we are, dead center at the 0. Where my arrow is, this area right here is what I was watching as a possibility as a sunspot. As we were seeing, that's the region right there that we're looking at for the eastern limb. And this goes by pretty fast, so bear with me. Right there, I'm trying to follow it. That's the one that we might have a chance for a sunspot with. Also watching this region up here in the northern, above the equatorial region, that would likely be here after the 1st of the year, when that would be here. And my guess would be anyway on that. Just take a look. Oh, SolarSoft, found some different stuff to look at. Here's our GOES X-ray 14, as we've seen some stuff happening here at the end. Not quite sure. I'm going to look into that some more for you guys. And a lot of these charts are possibly showing at AR 2731. So again, we'll keep our eyes on this. TSI, a couple of things I want to show you with this real quick. First, I want to show you the reading that we got for December 18th, no, the 17th of December 2018. Came in at a 1360.6119. So once again, we're getting readings that are flirting with that 0.5 value as it continues to dip. Now, I'll go ahead and refresh this screen, and I wanted to show you guys something. I've done this before, but I've noticed here lately that this line is becoming a little bit more noticeable than once before. And just waiting on this chart to load up. Okay, so right here, guys, check this out. I know this is small. Let me see if I can zoom this in for you a little bit better. Maybe we can see it better if I zoom in. Just observations here. But we talk about how slow the TSI drops and rises. And just an example here. I can't get my arrow apparatus back up. Oh well. But I'm sure you guys can see the slight decrease that we are now starting to see on. Bear with me, folks. This is very frustrating. I'm not sure what's happening here, Mara, but I had my arrow and it's disappeared on me. Mari is my producer. You know how to do this stuff.
I'm just dropping stuff now on you, Jake. Where's your little arrow?
It's right there.
Arrow.
Yeah, I don't know where it went. So anyway, as I'm looking at the TSI, we've seen the chart, and if you look at where the peak is, and as it declines once again, we're expecting it to go back up on the rise, right? Well, it looked like it was starting to head back up, and then once it hit another dip, don't even worry about it. I'm not really concerned, honestly.
That's fine.
I'm trying to.
You can talk. Am I distracted?
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of throwing me off, but thank you. You're trying. I appreciate that.
Next show, Jake, I'll have it working.
I appreciate that. I don't know what happened. You know how this stuff works for us. That's why.
It happens.
So anyway, what I'm trying to show here is that the line between the TSI, if you can see where the blue is and where it's separating from that line that's above there, that'll give you a good reason, and also a good reality line anyway. That's 1361 is what that TSI reading is. So you can see that there is a down slope in the TSI right now that was at 1361. And it is slowly but surely declining and continues to drop. So we'll keep an eye on that stuff. All right, taking a look at some headlines overseas. All right, heavy rains and strong winds affecting Sri Lanka over the past couple of days resulted in severe flash floods and evacuations in the country's north. According to media reports, this severe weather event has lasted for several days, affecting over 74,000 people. Over 11,000 people were evacuated to safe locations as their homes were inundated due to continuous rains. The military and the police are involved in rescue operations. The worst affected districts were, now bear with me, Mullaitivu, Kilanchichi, Mannar, Vavuniya, and Jaffna. No deaths or injuries were reported so far. Malathivu main road has been blocked due to the floods. Sri Lanka Air Force said a Bell 212 helicopter and Y-12 aircrafts have been deployed on flights over the areas to assess the flood situations. It says here, although floodwaters have now receded, people have been told to remain cautious as the meteorology department warned of more rains in the north, east, and north central provinces and said heavy rainfall was expected in central Sarba Garmua and western provinces. We'll leave a link in the description. Once again, thanks to the Watchers.news. And another story that we got from Watchers.news, and this one was everywhere. Very shallow earthquake registered by the EMSC at 5.1 hit under Sicily's Etna volcano at 2:19 UTC time on December 26. The agency is reporting a depth of a half mile. Another agency is reporting 4.9 magnitude with a 1.2 miles of a depth. This is the strongest quake in a swarm of some 1,000 tremors detected since 7:50 UTC on December 24th, 2018. This gives basic stats about the area. The local reports at least 20 people were injured, 10 were taken to the hospital. All of them had light injuries caused by falling debris. An 80-year-old man had to be rescued from his home in the village of Flery, the police had said. The quake also damaged a local church and other old buildings. Panic quickly spread throughout the region, and many residents ran out into the streets. As you could all imagine why, there was tons of footage on the internet about the shaking. The strongest quake to hit the volcano since intense earthquake swarm began at 7:50 UTC on Monday, with more than 130 earthquakes in the first 3 hours. It says civil service reported 152 emergency interventions by 1100 local time, and there is a lot of footage here from Twitter and others going over the earthquake damage that happened to the region. I can tell you what, a 5.1, very shallow like this one is, this is the kind of damage we're talking about. These people are already on thin nerves as we speak, considering that the eruption that they had recently, now, mind you, we're only talking under 20,000 feet for the ash plume, but nonetheless, still its first eruption on that flank, or its first flank eruption in almost 11 years. That's not a coincidence, by the way. So the next time someone says to you that solar minimums and volcanic and earthquake activity do not correlate, that's just a strange coincidence, if you ask me. We'll leave a link in the description, and we'll stay overseas as we are talking about a couple different things. Actually, that skipped. I did not want to go to that story just yet. What story did I want to go to, though? So, okay, this one here. All right. Istanbul outskirts covered in snow. Parts of Istanbul were brought to a standstill on Tuesday morning as a Christmas Day storm lashed at parts of northwest Turkey with heavy rain and strong winds. It's a pretty bad storm from what it reads here. Some districts on the outskirts of the city also had a covering of snow. These caused severe delays at the Istanbul's Ataturk International Airport. The rain readily changed to snow in the mountains of northwest Turkey into Wednesday morning. Funny, I've seen a meteorologist talking about snow possibilities in Turkey. Judah Cohen actually was the guy that I first heard that from about a week ago. The crisp conditions will lead to icy stretches, and travelers have been advised to allow extra time for their journeys. There was also some disruption on the roads, no fewer than 9 villages in the southern province. Okay, so you can read the rest of the stats here about the little area here that got some snow. They were also worried about flooding threats as well into Cyprus, Syria, and Lebanon by the end of the week. And this link is in the description, but also if you guys have the time, here is a couple of articles back to back talking about some personal experiences from the tsunami situation here. And these folks are on the run, guys. They have moved temporary shelters and tents now into the mountainous areas. They are getting away from the coast. And what's also being prominent is on mainstream media. I saw twice today in Fox News reporting about the Etna volcano eruption, and then of course the Krakatoa eruption as well, which brought the tsunami. And I stand corrected. I said the 1883 eruption was an underwater eruption. That was false. I was kind of skimming the article as we were going live, and several readers had called me on that, and I wanted to make sure that we corrected that mistake. It was not an underwater volcano eruption, but the landslide that was triggered from the volcano eruption was underwater, which caused the tsunami. But anyway, folks are still on edge about this over here in Indonesia. I've seen several reports on mainstream media talking about they want Indonesia is very, very, very right now anti-coastal region. Everyone needs to move away. So that's kind of a little scary when you're seeing mainstream media worldwide reporting that if you are in the coastal regions of these areas, you need to get out. They are concerned about another wave possibly attacking that region, considering all the seismic activity that we are experiencing right now. We've continued to see over more and more, I think, as 2018 is ending. I think it's safe to say that we've seen a lot more activity this year, seismic, as far as earthquakes and volcanoes, especially volcanic activity here recently. We've seen some very impressive eruptions. But take some time, guys. Look at these articles. These are personal stories about what's happening. I believe this is probably the most in-depth reporting, and unfortunately it comes from a company that was once owned by Al Gore, and I guess that's why the reporting's so much better. If I'm not mistaken, didn't he sell this company? He sold Al Jazeera America back to someone, so already the company's taken a step in the right direction by allowing Al Gore to take his name off of this particular company here. But sorry to throw you under the bus there. I'm pretty sure that's where we were with who owned Al Jazeera. I'm pretty sure he sold that Al Jazeera America away. But a little update on the death toll, which is 430 people, and now over 16,000 people are now displaced, including many of the residents of Sukaraja village who lived close to the shoreline. Most of them are afraid to go home and worried about another tsunami will hit their village again. That's understandable, considering with, like I said, the volcanoes, the earthquakes, everything that's happening right now. Very, very uneased nerves out there. Mari, is everything okay?
It's just busy.
Gotcha. Whenever I see Mari do that, I have to ask, make sure everything's okay. Sounds like we have a lot watching tonight. Welcome to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. We hope you're enjoying this, getting something out of this. We just try to deliver some news here. Some of the headlines that you won't hear about in mainstream media, but thankfully, we are starting to see a little bit of coverage in what's happening in Indonesia and also Italy, Etna. So that's encouraging. I'm glad to see some of the stories that we're talking about hitting the mainstream. But back to mainstream media, I want to talk about winter storm. Kansas governor declares state of disaster emergency. Governor Jeff Coyler of MD has issued a state of disaster emergency as a massive winter storm plows through Kansas. Western parts of the state could receive up to a foot of snow, in addition to 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts, more than a tenth of inch of ice accumulation. So this is going to be the granddaddy of it all here. Goodland, Kansas. Let me tell you about this part of the United States, folks. Let me tell you. Beautiful country. Up and down rolly hills, big puffy clouds, and farmland to your heart's desire. I mean, everywhere. So these areas that will be affected, like Goodland, Kansas, more rural areas where we don't have, even some of these areas don't even have paved roads. So a lot of these back farm roads out here don't even get plowed during storms like this. So if you have anything you need to take care of business-wise, get it done now. This storm ain't playing. We're going to get 48 inches of snow and then up to a quarter inch of ice with gusts up to 40 miles an hour. So winds will probably stay sustained around 25 miles per hour. Governor Jeff Coyler says, I have issued a state of disaster emergency declaration for the state in response to a winter storm that will be impacting portions of western Kansas. He says here in a tweet, says it's important to be prepared when we see a winter event like this approaching, and we appreciate our emergency responders who stand ready to provide any aid that may be needed. We hope that travelers will be wise by paying attention to weather alerts and not unnecessarily placing themselves in harm's way as the storm moves through. Common sense. And I think what this governor is trying, and the reason why I brought this up tonight is that let's heed the local warnings. We know the governor of North Carolina had a couple of big decisions to make this year. One was with Florence about a week and 3 days out, and thankfully he did the right thing by issuing the warnings appropriately. He was telling farmers that we will lift certain regulations so you can start getting in those fields and pulling that crop out. And thankfully, it probably saved a lot of damage. Now, there were still lots of crop damage after the storm, but I'm just saying those preparations might have been enough time for some of the farms to recover what they needed to recover. So for these people out here in Goodland, Kansas, I hope you have bread and milk, because you don't want to be out on the roads when the winds are gusting 40 miles per hour. There's no trees out here, guys. This is all flatland. Up and down hills, no trees, all fields, animals, whatnot. So the winds are going to be gusty, the snow is going to be blowing, the roads are going to have ice on them. Again, heed these warnings when these governors issue these state of, especially this one here. This guy, it's not even a state of emergency, it's state of disaster emergency. And this is in relevance to the winter storm that we're watching right now. I have totals. I have a little bit from ABC News, a major storm system moving out of the west where we develop into the plains, bringing severe storms to the south and heavy snow to the north. Up to 2 inches of rain fell in Southern California, and up to 2 feet of snow fell on parts of the west coast over Christmas weekend. As the storm moves east, 15 states from Arizona to Michigan are under winter storm warnings and advisories. That's no joke. The storm is gathering in the western plains on Wednesday morning, with heavy rain already developing over Kansas and snow forming in the Dakotas. That's where the biggest right now, the blizzard warnings are in effect right now in the Dakotas. The biggest threat with these storms will be damaging winds, with a few tornadoes and hail. Flash floods can't be ruled out. They're talking about here in the south. Believe it or not, folks, we're talking about severe weather for the plains, from the Midland, Texas to Dallas, all the way down to Houston. You guys will be getting some heavy rain, severe storms, damaging winds, and hail possible with this particular storm system as we take a quick look at it on our maps. By Thursday, severe storms will move into the eastern Gulf and deep south with damaging winds and flash flooding. Nothing changing through Thursday. Snow staying mainly to the northern plains, so that's good news for most of the country if you don't like snow. However, we got high winds and rain to deal with across parts of the south into the deep south. And by Friday, this bad boy is going to be up into the northeast, bringing, once again, this is almost an identical storm system to what we had last week at this time. And I'll show you for this exact time last Friday here in the northeast. Let's go ahead and take a look at our radar. Look at the size of this storm, guys. This was about the identical size of this storm last weekend that was heading our way, except this was more in the Gulf on the Florida side of this, up the East Coast, and it just felt like it rained and rained and rained forever. Thankfully, this storm is not going to rake the coast like it did last Friday, but nevertheless, we are expecting some weather from this as well. And I'll talk about that here in a little bit. These are the low temperatures forecasted, folks. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday low. This is cold here in the northern plains. -4 on Saturday morning and 19 in Bismarck. Rapid City is 9 on Friday, 5 on Saturday, 22. These are morning time lows. International Falls, 5. -12 on Saturday and 3 on Sunday. So get back into the balmy status for International Falls on Sunday. Des Moines, not so bad. 27 Friday morning, 12 Saturday morning, 20 degrees on Sunday. So those are more average, normal winter temperatures, something you can live with. But this is our first real significant, severe winter storm with high winds and very cold winds also. So you figure if we got wind chills here, that are going to be well below zero if our low temperatures are in the single digits or lower. Taking a look at our weather underground snow map totals, the areas of interest right now are in the northeastern corner of South Dakota. let me see if I can zoom in on this a little bit. Northeastern corner of South Dakota, near North Dakota and Minnesota as well. That area could receive anywhere from 12 to 18 inches of snow. There are areas that, now this is just through Friday, by the way, there are areas that could see as much as 2 feet of snow from Kearney all the way through Sioux Falls. So that area where we see the lighter shade of purple, there is some isolated spots that we could see as much as 2 feet. And then I got also for the Northeast, this is another part of the country that's supposed to see some snow. As you guys can see here, it's very, very light compared to what we are looking at in the plain states right now. A lot of the snow is in Canada right now. Southern Canada, Maine, near Bangor, Caribou has got snow that you're expecting about 5 to 8, anywhere from 8 to 12 a foot is possible in Maine, Concord. Some areas could see a localized amount of 5 to 8 inches. Upstate New York, we're going to stay very light, anywhere from a coating to maybe 1.5 inches. Again, they are naming the storm Ebony, I believe is what they're going to call it. California had 12 inches of rain at North Star Resort, 5 inches near China Mountain. And these are snowfill. Okay, I was about to say that's a lot of rain. So nothing super impressive with this storm, guys. It's just getting started. But the bigger story as far as winter weather goes is going to be over here in the UK. Now, I'll take a look at the GFS here, and we'll see where we compare. But right now, going into the new year, the UK shocking chart shows snow cloud from Europe heading to Britain into the new year. Britain is on track to be submerged with piles of snow in the new year as a shocking weather chart reveals a snow cloud generating in the northern Europe will slowly creep southwards beginning around the very beginning of the year 2019. Britons have been warned to prepare for heavy and disruptive snowfalls, mimicking the chaotic whiteout brought into Britain last year by the beast from the east. A shocking weather chart graphics has shown risks of snowfalls in the UK area increase as the new year kicks off due to a large snow cloud barreling southwards from Scandinavia. Interesting that they are talking about the beast from the east. Also, they are mentioning sudden stratospheric warming as well. And a lot of meteorologists and weather forecasters are now predicting this event to be taking place. Here we go. Here is the snow map that we were talking about. But this sudden warming atmospheric situation right now is also linked to this polar vortex that's going to be bringing extreme cold to the northeastern United States. That's what's been predicted anyway, that we will see an eventual outbreak of cold Arctic air sometime between the 1st and the 3rd week of January here in the United States. Here in Europe, they're going to see it in the next 7 days. Now, the only thing that I will say about this possibility of not just a deep freeze, because they're talking about this lasting through the UK through January into February. But there's one thing that needs to happen before we see this take place, and that is, and I'll go ahead and zoom this out a little bit. Let's take a look at some of the pressure. Excuse me, guys. All right, so what I was trying to say.
Well, I'm explaining to people in the chat that I'm coughing in the background too.
What I wanted to look at is some pressure. And in the Arctic right now, there is a stubborn low pressure system that's directly over the Arctic as we speak. Now, this, from what I am gathering right now, is what's holding things up on this sudden atmospheric warming situation. I apologize, I don't have my arrow up, guys, once again. But if you can kind of look in right here in the center of your screen, I have no, let's see what I can do here. Okay, so I'm going to move the live icon. I can't even do that. Well then, this is piss poor, guys. So if you can kind of bear with me here, in the very center of your screen, you'll see a very pinkish white area. Okay. There is this persistent low pressure system that is in the middle. And then here around January 10th, we see this high pressure system kind of take over, and it splits these other lows up. Now, that's what we're waiting on, is for that to take place. Right now, with the low pressure, it's just kind of stalling out everything. But once that happens, there's concern once we get this polar vortex going here that this thing is going to split into 3 vortices, possibly. So you're talking about the UK, you're talking about parts of Eurasia, you're talking about North America as well. But I'm going to look more into that as well. Like I said, this is all just speculation coming off of the internet right now.
Jake?
Yeah.
Starman, he says there's a lot of crap in the news in the UK, fake headlines. He wants you to click on the 10 HPA. I don't know if there's a delay between what you are talking about in the chat. So, let me see. He says it does split. So, he, of all people, would be the most accurate because he's been
It does, on. Yes. I agree that it does split. I'm just not sure of the timing, and that's what I was kind of going off. I was trying to, and that's good that Starman's in the chat, folks.
He's up late.
Yeah, he's up very late. Hello there, David. Good to see you tonight. And if he does correct me in the chat, along with some of my other mods, trust me, that's why I placed them there. So if I misspoke, I always have them to kind of tell me what's up and what's not up. But yeah, David, I did hear that it will split, but the timing, from what I understand, is being held up. So we'll continue to watch that situation. And I know Dave and everyone else that I talked to about this.
Upper Dynamics HPA.
Yeah, Upper Dynamics. I don't know what he wants.
Yeah, well, you could do it next time.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what he said in the chat.
Yeah, I apologize, Dave. Threw me a curveball, buddy. I will definitely look into that, and next time.
It's hard with the delay in the chat. Like,
yeah, there's a 20-second delay.
I think it's longer than that. I think it's like a 30-second delay. So it's hard to time what you're saying to what people are saying in the chat.
All right, so let's not confuse anybody. Let's just go right to it, though. Cold, yes. Vortex will happen, yes. It's just a matter of timing right now is when this sudden stratospheric warming situation is going to happen. I was just reading on Twitter, Judah Cohen had made a comment that there is a stubborn low pressure system that will not move from the Arctic, the far northern part of the Arctic, which is preventing this sudden stratospheric warming situation to happen and allow these disruptions to happen in the polar vortex. So we are looking at disruptions right now happening from the first week to the third week of January. So at this point, I mean, I'm not making a prediction. I was just trying to point out what I'm hearing and what others are saying about what's to come here. January, February do not sound nice no matter what side of the pond you live on. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a very pleasant winter here once we get into January and February. But I appreciate the fake news. I don't know much about UK's headlines like the Express. I'm not sure if that's a legitimate site. I just saw it for what it was worth, talking about the cold weather. Them comparing this event to the beast from the east just seemed a little significant, and I have friends that live over here, so I kind of wanted to talk about it. So if you guys have any questions or comments or concerns about some of these headlines, feel free to leave a comment and let me know, because the better I filter out these sites that maybe overdo it or don't do it enough, the better information I could spread out to you folks. Sad news, no more blob. I'm not going to read this article, but I wanted to touch base with it because another friend of mine, Rob, again today, had contacted me earlier and wanted to show me this. And guys, look at this. I mean, there is nothing that's defining this El Nino situation in the 3-4 region. And this darker blue over here in the Indian Ocean, that's something to keep an eye on as well. But I thought it was interesting the same day because Rob had talked to me about this earlier in the day, and then I seen this article kind of post up later after he mentioned it to me. But take a read at it. Go to the bottom here. The rest of the story is actually at this link. I recommend just reading the whole article from here. But that leads me into my next part of this tonight's show, which is looking at the El Nino region. And we are seeing a lot, 25, 24, 25, 26, 26, 28. Nothing impressive as far as El Nino happening right now. The North Atlantic starting to cool. It's up and down. It doesn't know what it wants to do. And the El Nino 3-4 region dropping once again near 0.543 above baseline. So not a surprise to see an article on What's Up With That, Anthony Watts and company, talking about the disappearing blob. Because that's exactly... Here we're looking at October, guys. Okay, we can obviously see some warmer waters out here in the Pacific. And then you go back and take a look at our anomaly temperatures now for 12/22, and it's non-existent. Literally. Now, I also read here at the bottom of this article other headlines. It's not like this is an amazing... This has happened before. February 16th, 2016, the Pacific warm blob has disappeared. So if you want to read about previous... This is one of the reasons why I like this website too. They put related articles and links at the bottom of their articles themselves. That way you can kind of keep track of the last time this happened and what were the similarities or non-similarities to the events. We'll leave the link in the description. And this was just kind of a joke. No, it's not a joke. To me, I find it's cute. Race fans, you have your NASCAR calendars. Football fans, you have your NFL calendars. Heck, all you guys out there that like the swimsuit edition, you've got your swimsuit calendars. Well, here at the GSM community, we also have calendars that get us going in one way or the other, I should say. But here it is, the X-ray telescope 2019 wall calendar from NASA and Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory. Check it out. It's on PDF, guys. There you go. Let's see what January brings us. Temperature structure of an active region. This is educational, folks. Keep looking through. We go to February. Filament erupts, causing B 9.6 solar flares. Impressive. And it shows you the date. Look at this. 1/22, 2018. Look at that. That's on my birthday, by the way, folks. So I did not realize I had a filament that erupted, causing a B96 solar flare on my birthday. That's February. And then, beautiful, the winsome, the adorable solar cusp. This made me chuckle a little bit. I know that there's people out here who really, really, really do get off on this, and I do too. But I also kind of chuckled thinking, you know what? All fanatics have a calendar, and these guys have put one together for their fanatics. Here's one active region, 3 ways. So showing you 3 different ways on how to identify active regions. I think this calendar is great. Absolutely great. If anything, it taught me a couple things. Who knows? Anyway, quiet sun filament unraveling. This is for the month of June. Very nice. Highly flare productive AR complex. Again, this happened on my birthday, 1/22. This is a 2012. So one in 2018 and another. I didn't notice this before the show, Mari, but they used 2 dates of January 22nd. One's in 2018 and one in 2012. So we have to have this calendar hanging up in our house.
Okay, we will make sure that happens for you.
Coronal jets and wisps. Again, showing you a description of what these are. First light. Taking a look here at September's calendar. Non-potential AR structures. Active region structures, I should say. Solar flares. Here's a chart of XRT flare imaging history. And November and then December. Here we go. Hinod's close call with Santa. And I do believe they are using another image from 1/22/78. Oh, I'm sorry. 1/22/2015. I gotta look. We gotta research this, Mari. Well, that's 12/22/2015. Never mind. I'm sorry. But here we see Santa and the sun. And it's getting a little hot there for Santa. So, anyway. Christmas Day will be on Wednesday.
Frosty anywhere.
No, Frosty, he melted like 93.24 555,611 miles before he got to the sun.
Gotcha.
All right. Once again, we'll take a look at the radar. Monster storm across the plains right now into Minnesota, the Dakotas, expecting blizzard-like conditions. This storm has only begun. It's going to race through onto the weekend. Let's take a look at our long-term range forecast with GFS. Here's the storm now. As we get through Thursday, the rain, the snow, the back end of this is cold enough for snow. North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and Nebraska will probably see the heaviest amounts of this snow action here. This will get to the northeast by Friday and take its way out to the Atlantic. On the back end of this, we'll see some snow showers on Saturday in upstate New York. Meanwhile, another low-pressure system forming in from the northwest, coming as snow through the mountains, higher elevations. This sounds like a broken record for that region right there. Another low-pressure system developing on New Year's Day across the south end of the Ohio Valley, upstate New York, all rain at this time. January 1st is showing it too warm to snow. I beg to differ, but we will keep our eyes on the GFS. Right now it's saying it's too warm. I'm not agreeing with that whatsoever. As far as it goes for Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and the Northeast, I do believe the temperatures will be a little bit colder. Looking at some of my models and what I'm seeing, the first decent sized snowfall for the Northeast doesn't even appear like it's going to happen until January 11th. And that is still some time away. Now, also, if you notice the high pressure, the low pressure bars, we're starting to see a lot colder air filter into the United States. Could this be the entrance of our polar vortex? Let's take a look. We really can't see much. These are just temperatures here in the continental U.S. December 29th, we will have mild temperatures. Into Saturday, we get back into freezing temps. I do believe those mild greens and yellows will stay a little bit further south. Now, here's where I thought initially that we would see that polar vortex disruption. But as you see, it's making a drop into the United States in the North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, parts of Michigan, but rebounds and quickly sucks back up into Canada. And we don't really see that deep penetration of Arctic cold air. Now, I believe that these greens are misleading. Folks, these are mid-30s and upper 30s, so don't let that fool you into thinking it's going to be warm and toasty across the United States. Much of the United States will be 39 degrees or lower from at least 75% or more of the country on January 1st. And then that cold air, once again, is trying to intrude on the United States. The back half of the Northwest and the Northern Plains will see the first bit of cold air. And then maybe around January 7th, January 8th, we start to see hints of a possibility of a cold push here. But still, long ways to go, folks. It's only December 26th, so we're talking about something that's going to happen on January 11th. We still have a lot to watch. A lot has to happen still as well. This is the snow depth through the 5th of January. Like I said, the majority of the snow is well up into Canada. Southern Canada is definitely getting its fair share of snow above Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Dakotas. The United States, ever since we had that heck of a start in November, the snowfall has been very minimal. This map looks misleading if you ask me. A lot of these are darker blues and light blues, which means we have snowfall cover between 1 to 3 inches of snow. The upper elevations, yeah, they're going to be 7 to 12, as much as high as almost 1.5 to 2 feet of snow in the green. So January, February, like I said, have been predicted to be some wild months. We will see, as we are just now getting past the Christmas holiday, heading into the new year. Taking a look at some ice right now, we are pretty consistent, 12.224 millions of square kilometers with only 6 days left in the year. We'll see how much further that grows for 2018. And taking a look at the Arctic, the ice cap right now, folks, we are almost all the way to those lines on all parts of the Arctic. So this had a rapid freeze. Now, you want to talk about young and old ice, that's a different story, and that's something I'll get into another day. But just showing that we're not having any lack of ice right now, and we're just getting started into winter. So there we are with the colder temperatures, and it's really going to help fuel this blizzard-like conditions that we're going to see in Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, Kansas, parts of Kansas and Nebraska. Guys, be on the lookout for this storm. This could be a nasty one. Also in the Northeast this weekend, we are also talking about possibly looking at temperatures cold enough tomorrow night, starting off as ice. We could see a quarter of an inch of ice by Friday morning here in upstate New York, but that will melt quickly as we get into the mid to upper 40s with rain in the forecast for Friday and Saturday. Here's a last look at what the United States is facing right now. We've got snow in the northwest, Seattle, Spokane, Portland, rain, 40 degrees, Seattle, 40 and rain. Spokane's Washington has 26 degrees and snow. We move across to the Dakotas. Bismarck, very cold, 18 degrees, snow showers beginning to fall, and heavy snow near Fargo as well. St. Paul, Minnesota, 21 degrees and snow. And then we go a little bit further south in the North Platte, just above freezing at 34. You're still seeing rain. Denver, light snow showers, 30 degrees. And then we get to the heart of this storm, which is really right now south in Texas. And we are talking about Dallas, 61 degrees with heavy rain on the way. Louisiana, Mississippi, your rain is coming overnight. Houston, looking at very heavy rain right now. Lightning strikes as well. So you talk about wind, hail, tornadoes, heavy rain, and then you've got blizzard conditions on the north half of this storm. We're talking over 1,500 miles of weather alerts from Arizona to Michigan. Quite a significant post-Christmas storm, if you ask me. All right, Mari, before I wrap it up, check in with you and make sure everything went well. Say hello to our people in the chat and all that good stuff.
We have such a wonderful, wonderful community. We had a great break for the holiday, and now we're back. It seems like everyone's coming out of the woodworks tonight. It's great to see everyone. So many people, excuse my voice because I have a little bit of a cold. I'm sorry, I got a cold from my daughter. So many people are excited about us in our announcement from the prior show. We got loads of super chats tonight, so I'd like to thank Rain, Grizzly, GOS85, Nice Nunya Biz, and Grizzly again. So you guys are awesome. Grizzly's second super chat is to buy the Starman a Red Bull. And the Starman's like, no, put the money towards your fund for the roof. And I told Starman, I have something in mind that I want to send him anyway, so I'm going to put it towards a gift for Starman.
A late Christmas gift.
We have a late Christmas present for him, so as always, it's always just great. I made Thor Valhalla a mod as well.
Well, that's been a long time coming.
He's definitely excellent in the chat. Always a pleasure to see him in the chat, so I added him as a mod too, so welcome aboard, Thor.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight. As you see a screen of snowflakes falling, we will check back with you with any more breaking news.
TV wants to do our flowers for the wedding.
Sounds good. TV, thank you very much. Guys, please remember to like and share. Check us out on Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, we're there. Guys, we will be back Friday night. It's going to be a late one, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. But we will be back Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time for another Grand Solar Minimum news update. With that being said, we will talk soon. Take care.